Welcome back to Higher Density Living. Thank you again for everyone for listening, and shout out to Quality Mazda NM here in New Mexico for making it a very simple process to purchase a car. No force, no pressure, all education, work on your time. They will even deliver it to you if you're in Colorado, anywhere in the state of New Mexico, and Texas at the same time.
Shout out to Tardo.co, our other sponsor, where you can get paid for your data or donate it to great causes like climate stability, human rights, educational access,
Government and corporate transparency, economic equalization,
world peace,
global health.
Yeah, it's all of the above. So hop on, go to Tardo.co, sign up right now.
Yep.
New website.
Yep.
It's exciting.
Earn and share.
Earn and share. And we have T-Coin on there.
Tardo
Coin,
Coin,
where you can earn. So chapter 7 / chapter in this book, there's a chapter 8, but we're not going to go into that one because
it's kind of like the epilogue.
Yeah. So this is logical answers to the many questions about UFOs.
I love logical answers.
Yeah, I'm going to make this the title of these shows, the one or two that we do.
Oh, you should.
Yeah. I mean, this is right off the bat. As a general rule, the questions all fall into one general list. And this is an attempt to briefly answer some of the questions more commonly asked.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everything I've seen written on the subject of unidentified flying objects has been set down by a member of one or two rather distinct groups of individuals. One group, and this is really important because we need to take information, reverse engineer it logically, go back to first principles. Here we go. One group consists of enthusiastic believers who, in their enthusiasm, are inclined to accept virtually all reported data at face value. So we're taking first principles.
It's perfect.
We take a phenomenon that's happening.
Yeah.
We look at it. What's the data? Okay. And then how is that data being perceived?
Yep.
And then who's perceiving? So we have this one variable that is these over-enthusiastic
people
they're
who have a hammer and see everything as a nail.
And they've all been raped by aliens.
Yeah. Probed. Absolutely probed. But again, that goes to the thing. Like if you see the world with a hammer, everything's a nail or something like that.
Yeah. So you have that.
Yep.
So you have the crazies is what people, because like legitimate UFO people say that.
Yeah.
Like we got a lot of crazies in our organization,
Yeah, of course
are inclined to accept virtually all reported data at its face value. The opposing group is composed principally of skeptics who look down their noses in a somewhat authoritative and superior way.
Yeah.
So what have we created here in these two groups?
Oh, Democrats and Republicans.
Yes. It's exactly what it is. Republicans are the crazies.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are the far superior.
Yeah. You have the religious folk and the anti-religious.
Yeah. And he says this, he says, each writer writes his article or book from his own viewpoint and primarily from the purpose of justifying his own position and belief.
Yeah. It's all about feeding. It's a means to their own end.
Yeah. He said a considerable amount of bias is expected and is always found in such work. That's because you just put the information out there.
Yep.
And then let people make their decisions with their free will.
Imagine
that. That's what we do at Hard Density Living.
That's what Billy Meyer did. He said, I don't have to do anything. He said, I don't have to publish these books or buy, marketing or anything like that. I'm just put out there. If somebody wants to read it, they can.
So he says that they're going to give a dispassionate, I like that word, logic. So the positions of the opposing groups are essentially as follows. The first group believes in attempts to demonstrate there's an ample evidence to warrant public acceptance. And they postulate that. He uses that word. I love that word. And then they assume that everything is true, that scientific progress is in the way. Religion's this way. You can convert this to so many things. Members of the second group usually insist that all of this is nonsense.
Yep.
They state that no reliable evidence exists to prove that intelligent beings have ever visited the Earth from any other place, and it's just this automatic dismissal.
Yep.
So you have a religion, and then you have science, and these have been at battle since Michelangelo. Before that time, that mythology is wrong, and for idiots, and religion is wrong, and we're scientists and we base everything, but there's a flaw, and we did a whole episode on why science is wrong. Or that kind of sounds like it's a clickbaity title, but it's the perception.
Yep.
It's what they're perceived.
Yep.
So you really that religion can give you a lot of insight. If you delve into the truth parts of it, and through mythology, you can get insight and truth.
Yep.
It doesn't always have to come through a microscope.
No, in science, the microscope has become its own religion.
Plus, you have channelers and you have tablets and ancient, wisdom everywhere, and you have sunlight going through at 33 degrees, coming through a hole, which lights up a crystal. I mean, how did that happen and who made that?
Correct.
I mean, there's all kinds of shit out there. The unexplained mysteries of the world.
Yeah.
Those are all valuable clues and insights for us to understand. This group also contends and tries to prove that all reports of USO observation can, by proper manipulation, editing, and judicious excision of the reported data, be adequately explained in terms of earthly phenomena. So, this is the same. It's like, well,
And it's weather balloon. It's just the clouds doing something funny, right? It's like, I don't even want to open up the possibility of something being more intelligent than us. Same thing. This is what Avi Loeb talked about.
yeah, but now it's got to the point. I mean, you have all these high up military people that swear they've seen things. They have it on recordings. I mean, these people have flawless records.
Yeah.
Why would they come out and say they saw something? You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah. And groups of them, they keep coming out more and more every day.
Fine, go for
There
it.
seems to be.
I
Yeah.
have to-
So, I
I
mean,
like it.
it's not the crazies that are coming out saying that something they've been probed. It's the, which a lot of that is psychosomatic.
There's a government coming out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a government probing you way worse. Worry about the government probing you with taxes?
I just said that in my head.
way
I got
more
probed
than
with
an
I
alien.
got tax probed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So most of us have been born and reared into the self-satisfied belief that the Earthman is a supreme product of the universe, as well as the principal reason for its creation.
Didn't I just say
Bible
this?
says this?
People don't like dealing with the fact of thinking that something could be more intelligent than them.
Yeah, it's ego.
It's just all ego. Why is ego? It's just,
Why do we center on this universe?
dude, I don't know. I was just about to ask that. I'm like, what is with that?
How,
We think we're the center of the universe. We're the center of our lives.
look this up. How many planets are just like Earth that they found so far? And we've only got like 0.0000000% of the
Mapped.
mapped. Or how many planets they perceive, astronomers.
So how many Earth-like planets exist in the universe?
This is just our Earth.
Yeah, these are things just like our Earth.
That would be carbon based. That would have, oxygen and
Yeah, okay. So it says billions. We have billions of Earth-like planets.
so that is just what we can perceive and understand. We can't understand Titan, the moon. They're saying that there's probably, that's Saturn's moon, right? Titan.
Yeah.
They're saying that there's probably life forms on there and that they would be totally different than if they're not carbon based. Then now we're getting into like molecular machine based.
Yeah,
I mean,
what are
yeah,
they?
yeah. What?
Ooh,
Yeah, it's
this
like
is juicy.
yeah. So now we may have life that is not even anything that we can even study
Perceive.
or understand. Yeah.
There's a guy who wrote a book. He was at NASA. I wonder if he was in their JPL lab. I don't remember. But he wrote a book called The Ring Makers of Saturn.
I like that.
Dude, first of all, it's out of
Ringmakers.
print. It's like $450 to get the book. But what he was saying is that there is actually an artificial structure, which his best guess was probably some sort of weapon, but it broke up. And the pieces of the artificial structure fell into this this plane around the orbit of it. And he said the photographs that he had from working at NASA, studying the rings, he said there were actually synthetically made craft, like hundreds of miles across.
So is he saying the rings?
Yeah, they're up there in the rings, readjusting some of the material and doing other things that are actually happening there.
It could be. I mean, I don't.
He's got
The
no, bro.
possibilities.
He's got pictures of it, and he shows how the physics are off. He brings up all the structures within the rings itself. It's a absolutely fucking phenomenal book.
So let's take what he said before. What it was, an undespairing logic, and let's say that there's billions of planets that are just like Earth. Just logic alone states that there would have to be life forms on planets that are just like Earth.
Yeah.
If you have billions, what are the odds that there would be life forms, evolved life forms? I mean, we made it this far.
Yeah.
So let's say some of the planets didn't, some of the planets did. So let's say some of the planets figured it out and they evolved more than we did.
Bro, it's more likely that there is life form than there isn't.
Well, I mean, if you put a mathematician to this, it would be like 90-something%.
No, I know. Yeah.
It would have to
That's
be,
what I'm
at
saying.
least.
It's far more likely than it is unlikely.
So logically, take all the bullshit out.
Mm-hmm. All your bias.
There's extraterrestrials.
Yeah. It's
You
just
have
there.
to, yeah. I mean, there's no other way.
Yeah. It's right in front of you.
Yeah, and because we can perceive their radio frequency and we're not tuned
Doesn't mean
into
they
them,
don't exist.
doesn't mean that they're operating around us.
Remember I told Avi this also?
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know, you go over to SETI and you're listening from radio waves from space. Why the fuck would an extraterrestrial or civilization that's so advanced be emitting so much waste? Silence is the highest form of evolution.
Yes.
Why would it make noise?
Mm.
That's a foolish thing to assume. And these are our best scientists
Yes.
listening for more wasteful radio signals in space. I think that is just absurd. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I think it's more than that. I think it's us being ape-like in not understanding what true evolution is. Because look at the expeditional progress we've made since 1890s till now. So 1890 to 1990, look how much the human race did.
I know.
We did a shitload of stuff.
But everybody thinks,
So what would happen if there's an Earth? Let's say there's a planet that's just like Earth. It has the ocean and all that stuff, just like us. They said there's billions of them.
I wouldn't mind that.
And these life forms, these human beings, they would be human beings like us on that planet. They were in one with nature.
Yeah.
Where would they be at? If we tried to force and manipulate nature, but they decided let's be in one with nature, how evolved would they be compared to us?
Yeah.
And if they started earlier than us,
They're
they
gonna
could
be way ahead.
millions. They could be so evolved, and Raw talks about that.
Yeah, and think about this. Why is it that we think our evolution and technological gain means increase in complexity?
Or that ours is the best in the whole universe. That's the stupidest shit. Think about that.
It's so dumb.
We're far superior. We're number one in the universe in our technology.
Oh, our math is far superior here at Princeton than it is at MIT.
Yeah, let a little alien come down and show you some math.
Yeah, like you guys are fucking exhausting. Can you just let the ego drop for 2 seconds?
That's why I don't think, like the perfect example, Jesus came on the scene, started teaching something that was totally different and upsetting the systems.
And it was simple?
And it was very simple, and it upset the systems, and they killed him. I'm just saying, whether you believe that or not, or it's myth or whatever. It's the same principle.
Same thing.
If an alien came down and started saying, well, this is wrong, or they wouldn't say it's wrong. They would say there's a better way.
People would be like, fuck you, I'm grabbing a pitchfork.
Yeah.
Time to die.
Yeah, it would destroy all our systems.
Yeah.
And then it creates so much, it would create so much havoc.
Yeah, did you ever see the old black and white film, The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Yes.
With a giant robot called Gort?
Yeah.
And he's like, I brought this down here. If you continue to be like this, you're on your path to your own destruction. I'll just end it all now with this robot. He'll just blow your planet up.
Yeah, too bad they don't make any more of those. Cool.
They were cool.
Yeah, and they were really philosophy oriented too. But that was because you had
But
most of our producers back in those days, directors,
yeah,
were Eastern European Jews.
Yeah. And here's a funny, interesting philosophical fact, like you're bringing up. So the military's outside of the ship. All this stuff's going on. They stopped the movement of cars, right? Just from him being on the Earth. And the spaceman comes out, and he's got the robot standing behind him. And he said, I'm giving you this much time to change how you act on this Earth. Otherwise, I'm just going to blow it up. Everyone goes into a panic. They're like, why would you do something like that? That's so inhumane. And he says, well, how hypocritical of you to state something like that. If I never showed up, you would have been guaranteed on your path to destruction regardless. So why are you so upset that I might just end this probability right now and allow the Earth or this current solar system to start afresh when you're already on that path? What are you so mad about?
Well, that's the same with the Marvel movie with Thanos. That was the same scenario.
But why are you upset?
Yeah.
Why are you mad at me? Don't be a hypocrite.
No, I've gathered all the rings. I'm godlike. I can see the outcome of what's going to happen. If we eliminate majority of the population,
Yeah.
it'll save Earth.
But why? Because you refuse to look at what you're doing. So let's take a step back, not be a hypocrite, and realize we are killing the Earth and thus killing ourselves.
Yeah, so he's gonna answer questions
I'm
that
gonna watch
he's
that
heard
film
from.
later tonight.
Yeah, it'll be cool, especially late at night. Yeah, pop an edible and watch it.
Gort, Klaatu,
Yeah,
Klaatu, Barata, Nikto.
yeah, stick it up on the screen.
I'm doing it. Barata, Nikto.
This is be cool. So the first question he said he usually always gets when people ask Dr. Fry questions is some of these unidentified objects are actually machines created and guided by intelligent beings not on this earth. Where do they come from? So everybody always wants to know where they come from. Well, They come from, Star Trek tells us, galaxies far, far away.
Well, yeah, and they're machines, and there's typically not people on them. They're remote-controlled craft. You and I both know this. Why send... whatever. Why send someone... Why would you send a life form when you can send something that does that if it died makes
same
no
that we
difference?
do with drones. We've talked about that before.
They're low risk. Come on.
He says the manner in which this question is phased makes it obvious the questioner is thinking in terms of a single possible source, whereas the general consensus of scientific opinion today is that there are at least a few thousand, if not tens of thousands of planets in our galaxy. And we talked about this. And they achieved a level of scientific development. They've had all the possibilities. If you change one out, you could change one. You could go to this planet, change one small little outcome.
Yep.
Maybe they got fired before, 2,000 years before.
Uh-huh.
That little change would be interesting to see how it plays out in a model.
Well,
You see what I'm saying? One evolutionary change could
make huge differences.
make a huge difference.
So, all right, let me press your mind a little bit. You ready? I have one of these craft. My craft has a temporal drive. I can move out of this dimension and through time. So I can actually see the effect of my work with great probabilistic certainty that what I'm doing here will have this effect in the future. You would know exactly what you should be doing when you go back to the time you actually want to have an effect on, because you've seen the outcome of it in the future of you doing that thing.
Well, I mean, just wormholes alone, and then black holes and wormholes, and then when you get two of them, they have those ones that oppose each other or whatever.
Yeah,
and then they're like gravitational pull is like can't even hardly measure it.
it's enormous.
If you began to understand that, and then there's wormholes in that, like if you could go in there and take your craft, where could you go in the universe?
Fucking
Where does
throw
that
me in.
open up at and go
Throw
to
me
another?
in.
Yeah,
I'm there.
yeah.
Fucking throw me in a black hole.
Yeah, see where it pops out at.
And even if I die, I'll just pop back up some other time in the
Yeah.
universe too. I'm coming back. There's no stopping that. Go ahead.
Yeah, he said 1964, September 13, in the Associated Press. There was an article in there that said creatures as intelligent as men may inhabit thousands of planets in our own Milky Way galaxy, a high-ranking scientist said Saturday. So, you have to come up to that conclusion. There's no other option.
It leads to the thing like the Draco equation. Which
Yeah,
is, go ahead.
So he said, so it is obvious that the question, where do they come from, can only be answered in specific information has been obtained from the travelers themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this makes sense.
Otherwise,
first party data.
Guessing. Yeah, you have to go to the source.
Yeah, we could get into that, but we won't.
No.
And he gets into questions, which I don't want to get into this, like what would they eat? How can they survive extreme temperatures? We'd go on and on and on.
They're not worried about
You're
that.
just guessing if you
Yeah.
ask all those questions.
Stop.
He said the answers to these questions is simply that the possession of extraordinary abilities would be normal.
Mm-hmm.
So like telepathy, what we talked about is it being some mystical, metaphysical thing where
normal.
it's actually normal to them.
Yeah. Oh, anti-gravity? Normal. Moving through time? Normal. Traveling past the speed of light? Normal.
And I think this is really important to understand this. He says, it is generally accepted as an astronomical fact. So here we go. That our sun is a relatively new star, even in our own galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And its planets, including our little Earth, are comparatively young among astronomical bodies.
That's correct.
So if we had millions and millions or billions of years older Earths,
Yeah.
older planets, think about that.
Older
then the
suns.
evolution
Older suns.
of that, if it's billions are just like Earth, I mean, come on.
Dude, it's just obvious.
Yeah, statistical. I mean, if you could play statistics all day long with it.
I would put every bottom dollar that there are other civilizations out there.
Yeah, and he said the second biggest question that they ask is, and we've talked about this before, why don't they land at the Pentagon and seek to establish trade agreements
Trade.
so that commerce might be established between the two races.
Economics. This is
So
classic.
what do they want to trade with us?
Why would they? They don't need to.
No. I mean, look at the way that we traded when we did slave trade.
Yeah.
When we imposed on people's free will, we went to Africa. We made fake beads that look like the other beads.
Dutch East India Company.
Yeah, we produced them, and then we took shiploads of these beads and tricked these tribes, thinking that they were expensive beads. That's if they wanted to impose on our free will, that would be the type of trade that they would do. They'd be like, "Oh, we have some fool's gold.
I don't
Or
want.
we have real gold. We have a ton of this. This is all over the universe. Here, let me. You only have a Olympic-sized swimming pool full of gold, and gold is really important to you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here.
We have plenty of it.
Yeah, we can generate it right now for you.
Yeah, I get this electron multiplier thing.
How many pallets of gold do you want right now?
Yeah, boom, done.
Yeah,
And
there
then
you
what
go.
you realize, material wealth means nothing.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. He said the analogy is easy to understand, and it should enable every reader to answer all the above questions without further explanation. That's a pretty bold statement. He usually doesn't make bold statements in the book. Especially if we can assume such visitors from outer space have developed a higher degree of technology than our own. If they got here, they had to.
It's already higher. And when you know what I always find so stupid. I've probably talked about this before on the podcast. What are you pointing guns at these people for? You're going to shoot a carbon-based projectile like I'm burning something? Dude, they just flew here at the speed of light, if not faster. And you think a bullet is going to do something? Get out of here.
Yeah, and it's so we have these real primitive tribes, still even now.
Yeah, we do. We really do. Even in the Amazon.
Yeah. So when we look at these primitive tribes, we can fly over them with one of our jets. We can observe them with one of our satellites.
Yep.
We can fly drones over there. But we really don't fuck with them that much.
No, we don't do anything. Why? They're not a threat.
Yeah, they're not a threat. And what's to... I mean, we could probably learn some things from them.
By watching them.
By watching them and observing them. But why would I want to go into that tribe?
You don't.
Missionaries try to do it for religion.
Spears thrown at them and they
everything
disappear.
else. But why? What would be a reason for me to go into interrupt those tens of thousands of years of them being Stone Age?
You wouldn't. You're throwing off their
bows and arrows.
The process of their evolution is completely thrown off.
I would be Smith & Wesson. I would come. I love Smith & Wesson revolvers. But I would come to them and say, you've had bows and arrows. Here, let me give you a Smith & Wesson revolver. You know, you would just fuck up the whole thing.
How do I hold this?
Because it's just technology.
I know. That's all it is.
And they would learn to use it. And they would kill each other at a rapid pace.
Just like we do currently.
Because they wouldn't understand the technology. So we do the same thing.
That's what I'm saying.
So they are higher intelligence than us, so they would even do this even more. They're going to observe, they'll watch, they'll do all these things, they'll check us out.
There was a comment there was a photograph of Billy Meyer holding a Play-Aron ray gun. And the question was asked, why does a civilization so advanced need a weapon? And they're like, well, what happens if you're traveling through space and a marauder
I like
shows
this. You've
up,
told me this before. It's great.
right? And it's not the fact that you are trying to impose your free will upon them, but you're trying to defend and protect your own life. Weapons are only used strictly for the greatest defense of life, nothing else. That's why they have to have them. They need to have that technology strictly for the protection of life.
It's a defense mechanism,
not an offense.
Right.
And so when they deal with something that is offensive, it has to be combated with something that has equal force with it.
Yeah, and he says this, the tribe has no word for machine in their language because they have no machines.
Yeah.
So if they came down here and showed us technology that we don't understand, or began speaking to us in telepathy, I mean, think about that. And he uses an example of a bird. You know, if no one's ever saw a bird and all the different varieties of birds, and he talks about the condor with the 8-foot wingspan, and, you know, you could get into certain dinosaurs, but you have parrots that have purple, green, yellow, you know, all colors on them. And if no one had ever seen a bird and then all these different species of birds start flying around somebody, they would freak the fuck out.
Of course they would.
Especially a condor.
Yeah.
If that something bigger than you.
It's just someone comes down smelling like frankincense, their body's like glittering, and they're wearing like a robe that's made out of like metal. And then they just look at you and like thoughts are going into your fucking head. dude, you'd be in a panic.
But because I haven't seen a bird does not mean that a bird does not exist.
Precisely correct. Just because it hasn't been observed doesn't mean the probability or possibility of it actually existing is not possible.
Yeah, and this is all logical, and I want people to understand this. And you know, that people are talking about, you know, they don't want to trade with us. They just simply take our Earth, and they would conquer us and make us slaves. There's that whole, you know, like we get the military and shoot jets out at them and all that stuff.
Smart.
You know? Yeah, that's the first thing we would do, of course.
Good. Yeah.
Perceive them as a threat. So it's illogical for them. They're solely logic. You know, it's like
Completely
Spock.
logic-based.
And what's the planet that Spock was on?
He's Vulcan.
Yeah, Vulcan. Yeah. So, and they're all about logic. You know, everything's about logic with them.
Works pretty well.
Yeah, it works pretty well. So they would say that. They would be like, why would we even cause that to happen?
Why would I talk to you?
Why would I even make them be fearful?
Yeah, why would I talk to you? Why would
They don't understand.
Yeah.
If they can't have understanding, then why would I destroy their evolution by coming in? They've tried multiple times and always fucks it up.
Yeah, they know.
And they know that.
So they've learned. Oh,
Yes.
they learn from their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Let's close this book up. Where are we talking about in the end?
Yeah. So in the end, he says this: no study of UFO phenomena will have any value or significance unless the student leaves his ego and emotions.
Whoa. You cannot fly through this, Jason. Please. This is another one of those huge, heavy lines, and this is how the book closes out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No study of UFO phenomena
No study.
will have any value or significance
Wow.
unless, this is a definitive statement, unless the student leaves his ego and emotions in the cloakroom before entering the study hall.
Mm-hmm.
Cloakroom. What's a cloakroom?
A coat room, bro. You know,
The
you
coats,
check
yeah.
your coat in.
Yeah,
Same
so they
thing.
have cloaks. Yeah.
Remove
What do
the
I
ego.
say cloakroom though?
Why? Because your ego is not really who you are. You have to shed it.
Right? That makes sense, yes.
Like a cloak, you shed, and then you can walk in to study. Let me leave my biases behind me. I'm going to go in with an open mind, observe, and learn.
He says, and even then, the only firm conclusion which the student, because that's what we're students, can reach is that no firm conclusion can possibly be valid in an area where the possibilities are as infinite as the universe itself.
Gosh.
So as infinite as I mean, how infinite is the universe?
It's endless. That's why it's called infinite.
So does that mean there's endless possibilities?
Yes.
Scientifically, does it mean there's endless possibilities for variables that we cannot understand?
So logic then would tell you can't say that it's not possible.